For now, nobody has surpassed the views that I have on my YouTube.
Just recently, you went viral on Jordanian Twitter.
Oh yeah.
What happened there?
I had so many times where I got really dragged, and I mean dragged through the comments.
There's always this one aspect, which is being true, being authentic, helping someone in need most of the time, and something new.
We have Omar Jehad and then we have Z. You guys are both content creators. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you do, what inspired you to start doing it.
Honestly, I just started right off the bat. I didn't even know what I was doing when I first started. I just posted videos and people liked them, so I just kept on going.
Yep.
What I do is mostly comedy. It's just commentary on things that I see online, and sometimes it's just reactions, or it would be like just videos of me talking about certain things and making fun of it. So there's nothing really something specific, but if I had to choose something, I would be like, it's more commentary plus like my own blog, I would say. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great journey. I've been at it for like a year, and now I have on Instagram 320K, on TikTok 500,000, and on YouTube I'm just starting out and I have 25K.
Okay.
So it's we're getting there.
It's something, yeah, of course. And what about you, Z?
So I am a food content creator. I think it's similar to what he said. I just started on TikTok when it was the pandemic. I was posting on Instagram originally, and people weren't really receptive to it. But TikTok is very different. People were giving me really good response, and then it just started to really pick up.
Okay.
I was getting such a good response, and then obviously I started sharing on Instagram, and so it's been pretty good.
Okay, sounds good. And then Omar, just recently you went viral on Jordanian Twitter.
Oh yeah.
What happened there, man? we're gonna talk about this.
There's a lot of things that happen, but Twitter users usually they're very how do I say this? They don't have anything going on in their life most of the time. So what they do is they criticize everything. Every single thing. You can never be right. Even if you do the best thing in the world, you'll always be criticized. I'll give you an example. Mr. Beast, for example, got canceled multiple times for doing his videos. Remember that video that he's done where he heals like 1,000 people, blind people?
Yep.
He got criticized for it because people were like, oh, well, he's using them for content. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, imagine if you were blind and one guy comes up to you. He's like, okay, listen, I can heal your problem, but I have to take a video of you doing it. Like I just have to take a 5-second clip.
People, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think you're gonna be like, no, you're using me? Fuck no, I want to see. I don't want to be blind the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what happened with me was I basically the way that I use Twitter is just like I put motivational quotes. And I wanted to motivate myself because I just started my own podcast like 2 months ago.
Yep.
And I wrote, mark my words, my podcast will be the #1. And people were just trolling me. Like at first it was funny, but then I was like, yeah, nah, this is too much. This is too much to handle. And it became #1 trending in Jordan for like 3 days. Just because I said I'm going to be the #1.
And guess what's gonna happen?
I mean,
it's gonna come true.
For now, nobody has surpassed the views that I have on my YouTube. Like I have 8 episodes, and in total they have 500,000 views on YouTube within a month. And I don't see anybody else in the Jordanian platform doing that with the podcast scene.
100%. And then you saw a gap in the market as well, so you decided to just fucking take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I would do the same thing, brother.
Yeah, as a creator, you need to always try to expand, and you try your best to try new things. Sometimes it backfires, but as long as you are gaining something out of it, whether it's experience or a platform, then that's great. I mean, either way, you're not really losing.
Yeah, 100%. And then a question for both of you guys. So let's say, for example, you post a piece of content and you think it's the best fucking content to ever exist. It doesn't get that many views. Does that affect your ego whatsoever?
I want you to go first. I want to see.
Well, I will say in the beginning it did.
Okay.
TikTok is, and you probably know this, it's very inconsistent. In the beginning when I was posting, it wasn't getting obviously as much traction. And then at one point it was taking off. Like every week it was like videos were doing well. I was doing numbers. And then randomly it would just tank. And I was like, oh my gosh. And for a second, it kind of did hurt. You're putting all this time and effort into a video. And so you do kind of think, okay, are people just not liking this video? And then imagine the next week it does the same. People can get easily discouraged.
Yeah.
But slowly, as you kind of start to build an audience, I think with TikTok, you can't take it too personal. Instagram has been a little more consistent.
Yeah.
So you can kind of tell what your audience likes and doesn't like.
Yep.
But on TikTok, you start to just kind of look a little past it. And then so it doesn't like affect you as much. But in the beginning, when you're starting out, it can.
Yeah, I agree with her. In the beginning, it definitely would hurt. But then even when you're reaching a point, because for me, the way that I think about it, it's an indicator of whether I am a good creator or not.
Right.
So if I have, let's say, 500,000 followers and my videos aren't gaining 10% of that traction, that means I'm doing something wrong.
Correct.
Or there's something going on with my account. It could be sometimes you can get shadow banned for the stupidest reasons.
Right.
So there are so many different things that go into it that I just decided like to sometimes just not look at the numbers and keep doing whatever I want to do. And if people like you, they will like you. If they don't, they don't. But in the beginning, it definitely discourages you because you think that once you become like viral once or twice, you think everything is going to be that way. And you just get the dopamine rush of be like, oh my God, this is life changing. And then boom, the next video, you're just back to reality. Snap back to reality. You know, when Eminem said that, he was right, man. It hits. It hits.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then for me, I honestly think social media as a whole is a huge issue in today's society. I do social media as well, right? I try to do it in a way that inspires people more or less. And I think there's a huge problem with people just grabbing your attention in the wrong way. We're not talking about personal people. We're talking about TikTok as a platform and Instagram as a platform, sometimes personal people as well. So when it comes to that, I mean, I'm really against it more or less. Do you think you guys are working towards the problem, fixing the problem? How are you?
Here's the thing. For me, I'm more on the entertainment side.
Yeah.
So when people watch my videos, they expect either a laugh or something out of it. They don't, like, for example, we're going to have very different answers because we're very different content creators. Like, because, and like she said about Instagram and TikTok, they're both two different platforms because TikTok basically it values the content more than Instagram. Instagram values the person more because on Instagram you have more of a community. On TikTok, it's whatever you post. You could have millions and then post a video and it will only get 1,000 views. But if you have 1 million on Instagram, you're guaranteed you're gonna at least half of those people will see it.
I mean, I have to agree. I personally love TikTok way more than Instagram. TikTok is just to me so much more raw and authentic with how people are. And I think that's why I gravitated towards it so much in the beginning, obviously, when I was posting, because Instagram I wasn't tapping into that at all. Because Instagram has more of a reputation of things being so perfect, and it has to have a certain image. And I could also tell what videos would do well more on TikTok and Instagram. The Instagrammable places would do amazing on Instagram. But you have like the places that are so much more, I'm not saying that they're not as nice, but they just have a very different vibe to it. And it's people just respond to it on TikTok.
Different platform. Like the people who go on TikTok are very different than the people who go on Instagram. Instagram people, they go for the lifestyle. They go for the person, the look. That's why you see like those people flexing and all that, but you barely see them on TikTok. And when you do see them flexing, it's usually because they're serving a purpose, which is selling a course. But on Instagram, it's more like, oh, I just have shit ton of money. And sometimes they sell a course, but I'm just saying like it's more, you'll see it more on Instagram rather on TikTok because they're both two different cultures.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. And then go back to the egotistical side or the egoism per se. If it hurts your ego per se, there's many studies that happen, and I've said this before as well. There's thousands of studies that happen that say the reason why people are egotistical and the reason why people think that they're the shit more or less is because they have something missing within them. So they have either low self-esteem or whatever it may be. So that guy who's on the hill telling you he's the best, he's gonna do it all, whatever, right? There could be something within them that is causing that.
Well, for me, I mean, it depends really on who you are as a person, because let me tell you something. If I was like, let's say really like my beginnings weren't that great. I never had anything going on for me. And then one day things happen and I start picking up something and then it works for me and then I become something. As a person, I would want to show that because that's normal for any human being to be like, oh, okay, I have something great now, finally, about time. You kind of want to show it off a little bit, but not too extreme. Well, for me at least. But I would understand why people would do that because, again, when you don't have something for too long and then finally you have it, you want to let everybody know, hey, you guys were. Plus, it goes on to like, if people doubted you, when you first started. So I'm as a content creator, when I first started, like a lot of people would unfollow me. They would like tell me things that I wouldn't want to hear. And then now that I have like a good amount of followers, I'm like, well, I fucking told you so. It's that aspect. But the difference is, well, when it comes to your question, it's just the money, or like if you actually reach to like a really high level. That's the only difference. But I mean, hey, if you've made it and you have gone through a lot to reach a point where you are, why not show it off sometimes? I never see a problem with it, to be honest. I'm a victim of this
sometimes. I wouldn't call myself a victim, obviously, but I overcompensate sometimes, stuff like this, where maybe, let's say, in my business, there's a month that's not doing as good as I would like it to do. I'd go and tell everybody, I'd be like, I'm the best motherfucker, the baddest motherfucker you've ever seen.
Nobody would market themselves as the worst, or they're bad, or they're okay. Who the fuck would do that? If I want to hire you and you're a marketer and you tell me, yeah, I'm okay, I would never fucking hire you. Like, why would I do that? You know what I mean? That's why there's also like when you show off something, or when you show off your influence, or you show off something that leads with you, you show some credibility. You have to show some credit. You can't sell me a fucking course when you're driving a bicycle.
Yeah.
Or riding a bicycle to work. Like, I don't give a shit. If you're going to be selling me a course, you better be driving a fucking Lambo or some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Then, I mean, it's very, I feel like social media as a whole is just people doing their highlight reels and providing me with their highlight reels. And then what ends up happening is that people start to compare their normal life to your highlight reels, and then they start to either be envious or jealous, and they have no idea what's going on in the background. They don't know how hard it is or what's going on within you guys as well. And then for Z, how did you get really started?
Well, I will say, kind of to his point, for me, it was more about what is your purpose in the content that you're putting out. When I make my videos, and I think that's why I've also kind of learned to have like certain boundaries in it, I enjoy going to restaurants and eating food, talking to my friends, getting the actual content. Like, I find enjoyment in that. So for me, it wasn't really the reactions from people. It was the fact that when I would come home, I felt happy. Like, I would notice such a shift in how I felt. Like, I went to a restaurant, had a great time. It was exciting for me to like make these videos. And so when people were responding great to it, it was like a plus to it. But I feel like even the days where it doesn't perform as well, the high that I got from going to that place and getting the content, to me, like, had a lasting effect, if that makes sense. So I feel like for the people that do kind of get caught up in maybe like the other piece of social media making them feel important, I think that's how it could really get to your head and mess with you. And you can kind of start to get addicted to how people are kind of showing that support. And that's because if it's not coming from a place of you wanting to do it because you enjoy it, that's how I think people kind of get caught up in that whole like influencer, and you want to be this, you want to be successful, you want to be famous, and this and that. And I get it. You know, like you said, when the videos go viral, it feels amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, this is great. But it's not consistently happening. And then for me, I noticed that all of them aren't, but whatever I'm posting, I better be happy when I leave that restaurant, or I better be happy wherever I went. If I can be satisfied with that, okay, however people respond to it, it's okay. Someone else, certain people, the right people are going to see it and they're going to respond good to it, and that's fine. So I can see how it can be damaging. Absolutely. I think social media has gotten us so addicted to the reactions from people.
It's like a spike. Like it's like when you see just like the overwhelming amount of people just like congratulating you or telling you you're great or whatever, you just feel better about yourself. And then once that's gone, you're like, oh my God, what am I doing wrong? Am I doing something bad? What's happening? You just start questioning reality a little bit. And
then you were speaking about happiness a lot. So what's happening to you guys? How do you define happiness?
I mean, for me, you know, that's exactly what drove my content was, you know, when I make my videos, I want to sell an experience. I'm not selling you just the food. I'm selling you an experience, because when I go, that's what matters to me. I want to go to a place and feel like food was great, drinks were good, I was vibing with my friends. Like, that's what makes me happy.
I have a question for you, though. Have you ever had an experience where you're like, no, this is horrible?
Oh, yeah.
And you posted it?
So there was a place that it wasn't that the experience was horrible, the food just wasn't my cup of tea.
But did you post it?
I did post it.
And what did you say exactly? Now, what did people say?
So I've had a few that I was absolutely blunt. I was like, the place was a miss. And you have people who are like, thank you so much for your honesty. Then there's others that they are collaborations. These are restaurants that reached out to me. I'm supposed to be putting it in a certain light. And you have to learn the type of verbiage to say, you know, like if you explain things in a certain way,
you can't just be like, this is dog shit.
You can't because and here's the reason why. And this is also, I think, part of like marketing. You know, there's ways to sell things that's going to reach the right audience without like dragging them. I think the only way to drag is if it was absolutely like blatantly like terrible. But there's been places where the food wasn't my cup of tea, but it might be someone else's cup of tea.
But is that you to blame or the restaurant, since it's not your like favorite? Like it's not like your tongue of taste. Like
it's not their.
What would you do in that situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been times where I'll say, you know, if you're into a very like non-traditional, let's say like Mexican food, people are gonna kind of put two and two together. That this is not traditional like American or Mexican food that I want.
Did something happen to you that made you learn that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
I have in the very beginning. Of TikTok, before Instagram, before when I was just building, I had so many times where I got really dragged. And I mean dragged through the comments, dragged through naming a location the wrong name, calling certain food authentic. Oh my gosh, that was so offensive to people. Grouping a certain type of cuisine with a certain aesthetic or name.
Yeah.
It was very, very, very like TikTok. That's the thing about TikTok. TikTok people will let you know.
Yeah.
You offended me. I didn't like this.
Absolutely.
You're weird. You're crazy for that comment.
They take freedom of speech way too far sometimes.
And
I know what you're talking about.
Instagram, people they're so nice about it. But I remember in the beginning, it was very hurtful. I remember I was like hurt by it because I didn't experience that side, and I was just putting out. You would think I said something so offensive, like something that seemed so offensive. So you had to learn that there were certain words that you can't say when it comes to like cuisine, and you have to also be careful how you characterize certain like cultures, food. Like you don't ever want to like be offensive in that way. So I had to be very particular with the type of words that I say or how and even till this day, I will do a voiceover and sometimes I'll like check it with my friends and say, hey, how does this sound? Would this come off a certain way? Would you take it this way? And I kind of see how they respond. I mean, there was one time that it was some type of dish. It was like a Middle Eastern dish. And I called it a tortilla.
Oh my God. She probably called sharak.
No. So, but let me explain.
I think so.
And I'm half Middle Eastern, but I'm not really in touch with that side. And so my other friend who's half Middle Eastern, she says, your ancestors are probably rolling in their grave right now. What you just said, it was so like offensive. And I said, well, the server told me it was a tortilla. And she said, okay, well, you should have fact checked. I mean, she was right. This is in the very beginning. I went off of what the server told me. And you had everyone saying, oh my gosh, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that negative kind of drove the video to be maybe viewed more.
So it did, right? So
exactly. So either way, you're benefiting.
Correct. I'm not completely against like the negative stuff, but it is still a little like, oh my gosh, because people are they're coming for you like really hard.
Because it kind of like it hurts your credibility in some way.
It does. And so from that experience, that's when I started to learn like you have to really fact check. The server might tell you something, but I have to do my own research. I had to really check to see, well, if this is what she said the name of the dish was, look into it if you didn't remember. Like, you know, so those are little things that people don't think that, you know, I'm like kind of like looking into because the wrong thing could really turn off the wrong people and you don't want to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, to answer you for the happiness and what does it mean, for me at least, it's a byproduct of chasing something meaningful to you. So if you are not doing something meaningful, then you won't be happy. And when you actually achieve something meaningful, automatically you're just going to be happy. And if you really just chase happiness, it's just you're going to be chasing impulses and you're not going to be truly happy. You're just going to be getting those small little impulses throughout the day or throughout the week. And then when you don't have those impulses, you're gone. That's why, for example, if you smoke weed and then the next day you feel like shit, why is that? Because you have this dopamine rush whenever you're smoking. And then the next day you don't have that dopamine rush. So you think you think in your head, you're like, oh my God, maybe I'm feeling like shit because I didn't smoke today. No, it's not because of that. It's because you smoked yesterday. That's why you feel like shit today.
But doesn't that apply to anything in life?
And I mean, yeah, obviously. Yeah, you just have to know like exactly like why you're doing what you're doing. Personally, for me, the reason why I do content and produce and all that is because it's insane to me that in a video of 15 seconds you can influence ton of people. Yeah. I've had like videos where it went like viral, really viral. We're talking about millions, and it was either motivational or comedy or whatever. And people would hit me up and be like, hey, like when I saw your video, I was suicidal, I was depressed, I was this, I was that. And this video helped me see things in a different light and a different perspective. Or even when it's just pure comedy. I've had a girl, I promise you, swear to God, she texted me. She was like, I was going through so much and nothing was helping me out until I saw a couple of videos of yours, and somehow I feel much better, and I'm going to tell my therapist about you. And for me, that was an amazing compliment. And from from that moment on, I just continued, and I can't stop. I feel like I have like this duty of continuing and trying to inspire and help and make people laugh in a certain way, whatever.
I had a content creator, not the last podcast, but 2 podcasts ago, I was saying they stopped doing things for the people and they started doing things for themselves. Because when you start doing things for people, it becomes not only repetitive, but it becomes like, it's almost like a job for you now.
Yeah.
And the reason why you're doing social media is to escape the job environment, to not do what people want you to do.
It depends on what you're doing. Again, it all comes back to what you're doing. Because for me, entertainment, I like to... So if I find something funny, I'm going to post it, and I hope that other people post it. I find it funny and laugh at it, right? I mean, it's like an exchange. You give me the attention, I give you the laugh. That's it. Okay. But for other people, it might be not that way.
So,
you know
so what you're saying is that you feel guilty if you stop because there's people that rely on you.
Yeah. So, I mean, not rely.
Alternative? Wouldn't the alternative be like, hey, maybe you don't need me, maybe you just need some type of outlet. You can continue to watch my videos and enjoy my videos, but
I'm not saying I'm not saying that they should completely rely on me, but I promise you, like, think about it, whenever I like think about the viewer, I always think about it myself as well. After a long day of work, what do I want to do? I just want to relax. I just want to be entertained. I just want to go home, watch that Netflix show, watch that whatever YouTube video that I want to watch, and that's it. That's all I want. And that's how I think about it. I'm like, when people watch me, why are they watching me? Are they watching me because they want to be lectured about life and shit? No, fuck no. They don't want that. They just want to escape reality. So in some sense, it's not relying. It's just you're offering something, and whether they like it or not, great. They can consume it. They can simply
you're offering a service.
Yeah, it's like a service kind of.
Yeah.
And then something that really caught my eye that you say, I've known you for a good amount of time, and something that he always says is when he goes through TikTok, he watches how he views the video.
Yeah.
What he perceives as funny, what he perceives as something that would be watched. And then he would not really replicate that, but he would see the causes of
kind of study other videos.
That's exactly
and learn why this. Okay, so sometimes I watch like videos that are like absolutely dog shit, and I'm like, why the fuck is this viral?
Oh, I think this.
And I look at it and I'm like, well, I just watched the whole thing. Why the fuck did I watch the whole thing? And I keep thinking, like, okay, well, I watched the whole thing because sometimes, like, let's say the person is attractive. Sometimes it's something stupid they've done in the video, but it doesn't matter. Either way, the algorithm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, as long as you watch the video to the full, or like, let's say a certain amount of time and you have a retention rate, that's what matters. They don't give a shit if it's useful, it's not useful.
Time. Yeah, exactly. It's the watch time that's so key.
So that's what I thought about. I was like, okay, well, in my first video, well, first of all, I need to get rid of intros, for example. I was like, man, I used to do intros and shit in my videos. Now I don't. I just go straight into the video. Same thing with anything, because you need to understand how, like, TikTok has changed the game completely. Before TikTok, YouTube was amazing and everything was fine, and you could do like an intro, outro, and you can have like some shitty ass clips in the video and it will go viral and it will be fine. But because of TikTok and everybody has like a shorter attention span, you really need to be smart with your videos.
And I think TikTok is causing ADHD. And then one thing, Mr.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a study about that.
There should be, and I think they're studying it as we go. But TikTok hasn't been around long enough for us to do a estimated study.
I was saying yes to every restaurant, saying yes to every event, saying yes to every, like, hey, can you come here? I mean, I was like almost like people pleasing in that way. Like I was just so like, yes, I'll be here, I'll go here. Then it started to be at the expense of my free time, the time I was going to the gym, the time I was hanging out with my friends and family. So I noticed that it started to take up my time.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that way,
I know what you're exactly talking about.
that I actually had to start putting boundaries. And there was times that I would say yes to things, regretted it so much, didn't enjoy it, didn't feel like I resonated with the place or the event. And then I would feel like, oh, I just wasted my time just coming here.
This is the hardest thing about being a content creator, is that sometimes you feel like you're losing yourself.
You do.
Yeah,
You do.
like you just develop this weird personality sometimes. And I go through those plateaus and those certain times where I'm just like, man, I really don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But I know if I don't do this, and I'm just going to lose a lot. So I might as well just do it. And then when I do it, like she said, I regret the whole experience. And I'm like, I would rather just go home. And this is where like, you realize, okay, sometimes you do need a break.
You need boundaries.
Yeah.
That's why you have to, and that's why I think for the happiness part,
Yeah.
I started to stay true to what I actually liked. Because the moment it stops being fun,
Oh, yeah.
it's almost like you kind of lose the creativity, you lose the
Becomes like a
motivation.
job.
And it started to feel like that.
Yeah.
And I think, people, I know sometimes think I do this full time. I actually don't. I work a full-time job early in the morning, right after work, driving to DC, driving wherever around DMV.
Then I have a
that.
question for you. When do you think it's going to be full time? Like, why wouldn't you take it to the next step if it's something that you truly enjoy it?
Money is still very important.
Yeah, obviously. I'm just saying.
It's not paying the bills, and that's that's the reality of it. It would be nice, but I'm personally just not the type of person to, I know there's so many inspirational stories out there,
Yeah.
but I'm very much a realist. And at the end of the day, I have just so much more on the line and bills.
The reason why I'm asking you this is because a lot of people sometimes just simply throw everything away for that one thing.
Yeah.
And you haven't done that because of the bills. And I'm sure that other people like who are watching are like, well, she could do it full time if she truly loves it.
Correct. But I think it's the personality in me that just couldn't. Like, that's just my person. I still like to be very realistic about things.
Okay.
And I feel like for the ones that are like the big dreamers, which is great, I've read the stories where people really took that risk, and I'm just not there yet. For me, I'm just not. And there might come a day that, I'm like, let me take that leap of faith. But I'll be honest, I'm not.
Well, it can happen gradually. The way that it happened with me, to be honest, is that I took it gradually. Like, I realized that I needed to be working in certain positions. Like, for example, I started off like working as a delivery driver because I wanted to just do work whenever I can and then focus on social media. And then slowly I just started cutting the hours and then reached a point where I'm like, okay, well now that I have certain contracts, now that I have certain things, now that I'm going to open a business, okay, now I can completely take that step and be a full-time content creator rather than, part-time, and then fully invest in it. Because the way that I think about it is that if I could invest those 40 hours a week into what I truly care about and I truly love, I'll have a way better outcome than working 40 hours as a delivery driver.
And that's very true. And that's true. And I think I'm also navigating like the business side of it, and I think as I'm learning through that, then I think I might feel a little more of that confidence, but I'm just still learning that piece.
Yep. 6 months into my business is when I came to the realization that social media, the reason why Kylie Jenner is the youngest billionaire in the world is because of social media. So I came to that realization.
And family help.
Exactly. And then I got to that realization, and I was like, all right, what do I do? How do I fix this? I was like, I'll start a podcast. I'll let people watch my journey, see my journey, see exactly, how I created everything that I have currently created. And that's going to not only drive more revenue, but that's going to get more eyes on me. So I think to anybody who's starting a business or starting anything, you either start with a foundation of social media or you start with the business and you do something on social media. It's a must. It's a non-negotiable for me. And then how do you guys look to monetize your social media? I mean, what's the difficulties in that? I haven't been in that space at all.
Do you want to go first or should I?
I'm still thinking.
Okay, well, so the way that I started thinking about monetization and how I became what I am right now is, to be honest, the creator funds on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok helped a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that shit really was helping me a lot. But then I realized that this attention that I have is, it's not forever. It's not gonna be forever. Yeah. It's going to be for a certain amount of time, and depending on how I react to it and depending on how I try to expand, that It's all based on me. How I really deal with it is how I'm gonna either fall or rise. And I think like I just started thinking about the business aspect like 2 months ago, maybe. I was like, listen, I'm 23 now, and life is becoming more difficult because I mean I have a lot of responsibilities and stuff, and I was like, I better start doing something right now because I can't just do it for the fun anymore. Like I'm still doing it for the fun, but at the same time I want to like gain something out of it. Because you don't want to waste all this time and then that's it, it's over.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I want to kind of build my own legacy in some sense, whether it's through business, whether through having more subscribers on YouTube, whether there's so many different ways. So yeah, that's where you start as a content creator. You see all the time those people who are building their own brand, because that's one way to establish some business side of it. Some people do collabs with other brands. Sometimes they get contracts with other platforms and stuff, and that's how you get into the business. You have to reach a point where either you contact the companies or you start something up on your own, or they contact you, and that's how you start.
Yeah, I would have to agree. For me, it's been a lot of companies that reached out to me that would have certain campaigns. And, you know, with those campaigns would come with a certain type of budget. And obviously I've learned with like negotiating certain things. But I will say it's definitely like picked up with just kind of people reaching out and also just asking like, how much do you charge for a video?
Yeah.
And so I think especially kind of where I want to go is I definitely want to tap into more like bigger, like, you know, like more broad a little bit, because I know there's so much more out there.
I'm sure you've seen Keith Lee on TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy is unbelievable, man. Every single video that he posts or review, it's like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he reviews all kinds of restaurants straight up. And now he's, I think, the #1 food blogger, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think a lot of it, again, is with the campaigns. It's also in other angles, you know, like things with other just household food brands. Like, I think that's something I also want to start like kind of looking into. But yeah, I just also kind of want to broaden things a little bit to kind of also just tap a little past the food, just a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. And then I think Keith Lee, what he does is he that's his name, right? Keith Lee?
Yeah, Keith Lee, yeah.
So what he does is, I've seen his videos as well. Not too familiar with him, but he tackles an emotion. Every single video that you see is him just sitting there talking about how this business owner is going through it, this and that.
There's always this incentive for the small. It's always small business owners. You never see the big restaurants unless it's an ad that's paid for.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that Keith Lee is specialized for. And then, you know, people are like, oh my God, what is this restaurant? I've never seen it. Let me try it. This guy says 1, 2, 3. And they try it. Because, again, if you really think about it from a viewer perspective, that's why I always say think about it from a viewer perspective. Yeah. When you look at this, it's not an ad. It's not paid for. Keith Lee is not gaining any money out of this. It's just usually a piece of content and a real review. There's always this one aspect, which is being true, being authentic, helping someone in need most of the time, and, you know, something new. It's food that you've never tried before.